And now you have these moments where you want to step into your closet and just scream and say, God, this genuinely sucks. And so the coolest thing I've heard is people with tears in their eyes saying, I feel like I've been seen and I've been heard. And man, that makes it all worthwhile. So
they never found the gun on them, right? They never found it. Right? No firearms located. They just had their casings. Right?
Dream come true, because the first I can only imagine was such a, unexpected experience. It was just this little darling story that exploded that I never thought we'd get a chance to come back to it. I didn't think there was more story to tell. And when we found the second half of this story and we're able to kind of bring it to fruition and kind of finish Bart's journey to walk into this building with, 1,200 people to see the film tonight, I feel like I'm living in a fairy tale. So it's just so exciting to finish this thing out. 15 years ago when these stories of faith started emerging, we were, considered, that hope was considered cheesy. But now in the world where, at times we watch the news and we're panicked of what is happening, the wheels are coming off, hope has become counterculture, it's become rebellious, and we've become a little bit punk rock. And I just think that right now the world needs hope more than anything else. And I think a story of what somebody's lived and the hardships they lived, to kind of consider that there is a God that loves you, that's in the middle of the fire with you, and no matter what you're going through, you're not alone. I just feel like that is something my heart needs. I think it's what my family needs, and I hope it resonates with audiences all across the country. The team at Lionsgate had the idea, and they want to give audiences something that they can experience, they have to experience in the theater together, and that it's something you have to do communally. And they started watching a lot of these early access screenings that we were doing, like test groups and different things like that. And at the end of the film, the crowd was impromptu singing together. And so they were just like, it just happened organically. And they're like, what if we captured that? So they captured it, put it on a trailer. That blew up. And so they're like, what if these early access screenings was about a worship screening that allowed the audience to participate during the credits at the end of the film? And they pushed it through, they rushed it through. And it's an experience that I don't know of a film that's done that before. And so I'm excited with these early access screenings for the audience to have that worship experience, because it's something you've got to do together.
It's so surreal for me. I love MercyMe, and I've always listened to their music and their story, and I can only imagine the first one was incredible, and just love all that they're about, and this movie is so powerful, and so I'm so excited to be here tonight to celebrate them. Oh, it's so special to me. I love that song, and that whole concept has been really inspirational for me and my family. My brother passed away in 2017, and through the loss of my brother, that song was really our family song. If we could pick one song that described that time for us, it was Even If. And so it's special to be here tonight, that this movie is all about that song and how that came to be, and so we're honored to be here tonight. I would say 100% go see this movie. I've already seen it, and it's so good, and it's so special, and it's so unique, and I feel like the way that it just hits your heart, it changes your perspective on life. So I would recommend everyone to go see this movie. I think it's so important, and it's just a really special and inspiring movie.
Well, we're fortunate enough that there's an incredible first film, so I feel like audiences going into it will have a great idea of just how inspirational this story is. And what's exciting about the sequel is that you have the original cast, but then you also are adding these characters of Tim and Hillary, and so you get to see Milo's character introduced to the bands and what that's all about, and then you get to see really diving into this storyline of grief and gratitude, and things get discovered through, like, what you think is happening isn't really necessarily the full picture. And I think that Hillary and Tim's humor throughout it all and lightheartedness through such difficult times is deeply inspiring. And so one of the things I hope people take away the most is, what does grief and gratitude mean to you? And, how do you express both in the same breath? Any time is good for a movie like this to come out. That's one of the things that's wonderful about it, is that people need hope and inspiration year-round. And part of why I got into film in the first place was because I love stories that make you laugh and cry. Like, growing up, my favorite memories were watching films with my family and sharing laughter together, and then feeling that big heart-opening emotion as well. And so I don't think it's now, I think it's always we need films like this. It was so funny when we were filming, it's such a catchy song that we all kept looking over and like we're not really supposed to be singing it. It's supposed to be Tim's moment, and we're all like singing it and crying, and because it's one of those songs that gets stuck in your head. It's a beautiful song, and just that phrase, "all is well with my soul," it's deeply impactful. So I know, obviously I Can Only Imagine was such a huge hit song, and Even If is also a huge hit, and I think when you see this movie, there's no question why. I'm a sucker always going to the theater because, again, like I love filmmaking, I love supporting artists, I love the theater going experience. Taking it back to my family again, like our biggest holiday tradition for both Thanksgiving and Christmas was always like, what movie are we going to go see together? And that was like a big part of our holiday experience as a family. And it leads to beautiful conversation. I think it's art is undeniably one of the most powerful mediums we have, and I just think that for people to continue appreciating theater is a deep part of that, and it's necessary. I cannot even imagine the day where we don't have film and theater. I can't even go there.
Man, I'm most excited about everyone in the cast. Their performances were unbelievable, and just made my boring life a little more interesting. And so I'm blown away being a producer in this one and being part of the process at the beginning. It's just been, I just know they put their heart and soul in this, and it really comes forth. So I just can't wait. It's weird to say I can't wait to see the movie about my life, but it's not even that. It's about their performance is unbelievable. I think the biggest thing is that, life is messy. We all, sadly, the one thing we all have in common is we understand what hurt and what pain is. And so I think the biggest thing I want people to take away is that they're not alone. That, isolation is the worst thing to happen to someone when they're going through it. And to be able to see a movie and go, oh, wait, I feel seen or I feel heard, the things I'm struggling with would be, if that happens, then, man, it's all worth it. From the very top of Lionsgate, they saw one of the trailers where we had some of the theater singing, and it was his idea. He said, man, what if we actually were able to get a theater to worship, which I don't know if it's ever been done. And so we decided to add this part of the show where we just lead them through it as well at the end. And tonight's the first night we're going to see. We've done it like kind of improv, and it worked so great that I'm a nervous wreck probably much about that than I'm watching the movie. But and they're going to do it in the early access screenings, and it would just be amazing to think that there are theaters all across the country that quite possibly are worshiping it as well.
Well, I got a chance to see this movie at a private screening a few weeks ago. It's incredible. Of course, I was already a big fan of the first movie, and so I wanted to come out and support my friend Erwin, who produced it, and it's a great movie. The messages are so beautiful. There's and I got a T-shirt from that screening actually that said "God is in the fire" and it's beautiful, and I love that message. It's if you haven't seen the movie, you're gonna love it. It's amazing. And of course, the song "Even If." It's like I feel like they could have almost named it "Even If," because just like I Can Only Imagine was based on that song, this one's based on this song, but and the evolution of how it came to be. But I Can Only Imagine was such a great movie, they had to title it that. The idea that the "Even If" song, the main gist of that song is, God isn't giving me what I want right now, but even if that isn't happening, I still trust Him. And so I love the idea that we just don't know God's plan. We don't know the big picture. So even though we think we know what we want, it may not actually be what's going to serve us in the long term or serve the community in the long term or whatever it is. And so to have that trust is so beautiful. And this film brings you there. It just brings you there. And yes, gratitude. There's the whole X on the wrist thing. The idea of just being grateful for every single day. It really comes down to trusting God. And the movie is like going to the best sermon ever. But you get so much out of it. It's like going to worship.
They put together such another incredible story. I can't believe it's still a true story. I think we were all a little nervous that we don't want to just put another sequel together. We wanted something fluffy. And when I first sat down and read what they had put together, I was blown away. I immediately texted Bart and said, "I love you so much, brother. I'm so sorry." There were things that I didn't even know he had gone through. Bart and I have been close friends now for the past almost 10 years. And there was just more story revealed that we didn't know, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. I do think now is a good time, but I'm also convinced that there's never a bad time. I think humans are always looking for connection, and we're always looking for hope, and we're always looking for that feeling that we're not alone. What I love about this film is that it's an ensemble piece. I get to play Bart, and that is wonderful, I can tell you that, but we cover so much ground, from cancer to type 1 diabetes to loss in the family to gaining members of the family, struggling with faith, struggling with relationships, and I think there's a character that everyone can connect with, and I think people will leave here finding someone to be like, I feel that, I sense that. I wouldn't say my connection is special, but I grew up in the Bible Belt in the Ozarks as a preacher's kid, and It Is Well With My Soul, probably like everybody else, it's my favorite hymn. And finding out that it was tied to this story. Well, I guess it goes back to 2018 when I first heard Bart sing the song. And the song incorporates It Is Well With My Soul. Probably the best hymn. And so getting to use that in our story, getting to sing that has been life-changing for me. I love that hymn. I want to encourage and remind you that this is about human connection. You know what I mean? And I think some of the screenings that we're having where people stay after and just praise, sing, pray, worship, whatever you want to do. And I think it's bringing people back together. I think we all need to remember that we were split up because of the pandemic. And I think we need to get back together, without phones, without, technology. And so I hope that it's bringing people back together. Well, that's easy for me because they're two of my best friends in the world. But what I can say, objectively is that they're kind enough and courageous enough and humble enough to work together, to be co-directors. And there's not ego involved. Best idea wins. It doesn't matter who has the best idea. What I really appreciate is that they're also determined to do it the right way. And the atmosphere on set, the crew, the energy, the cast, the production team starts from the top. And those two guys, I believe, are the two guys in the passenger and the driver's seat leading us all along, and they do it with such grace and class.
Because this is a follow-up to a movie that came out 8 years ago. So it almost feels like the story is just continuing to be told. I am really excited for people to see it. I think a lot of people's question was like, okay, what are they going to tell? What story is after the first film? And so I can't wait to hear what audiences think of this film. I think it's really special. This isn't one of those sequels that we quickly jumped into because the first one was very successful. It was really something we thought about for a long time, and we didn't really want to do it at first, but after we heard the story, we were really compelled, and we thought, we got to do this. And so I can't wait for audiences to see it. Honestly, I think it's going to be really special. And I think it's going to connect with a lot of people. It's such a divisive time right now in the world. No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, there's a lot of anxiety in the world. There's a lot of fear. And what I love about this film is it's hopeful. I think that's what we do at Kingdom Story Company. Our films are so hopeful. We believe, our faith is hopeful. I mean, the gospel, which is this idea that we infuse in our films, literally means good news. And I think if you watch this movie, you're going to be encouraged. This idea of the story of Tim Timmons, which people are going to learn about, here's a character who's going through some of these trials, and you think, if anybody had a reason not to be filled with hope, it would be this guy, but he's so filled with hope because we have hope, as believers and as people of faith. And so I'm excited for people to watch this because I need it. Everybody needs it. I think right now we watch so much things on the news, and it's just great to have a movie that you can take your family to. You can watch it together. You can leave encouraged. You're going to laugh. You're going to cry, and it's just really good entertainment, which I feel like we need right now. This is why I love the theatrical experience, by the way, because there's so many things in the world today isolate us. Social media was supposed to bring us together, right? But instead we're lonelier than ever. One of the things I love about movie theaters are they're gathering grounds for people. Like, they bring groups of people together, and watching a movie together with people is powerful. So the idea of being able to sit in a movie theater, It Is Well is one of the most powerful, enduring songs in history. That's a song that's infused throughout this story. The idea of coming to the movie theater, watching this movie, and then being able to come together and actually do something, like act on it, I think it's gonna be really special, and I hope it really happens. I hope people are breaking out in song. It happened in our screenings, so we're like, I hope this happens in the movie. So I hope it happens. I think it would be a really healing kind of moment to sit there in a theater together, watch something that uplifts, and then be able to sing together. It brings you together.
It reminds me of the first I Can Only Imagine, meaning the setting, where we made the movie for the audience, we made the movie for the story, because we thought Bart's journey was so extraordinary. And if we were moved by it, we believed that audiences would be equally moved by it. And so far, in our little test screenings, it has happened actually beyond what we expected. And so premieres are so exciting. It's exciting because now the world gets to see your baby, the world gets to see what you create, and we aim to create movies that move the soul and move the spirit, and this one does that. Gosh, our world needs stories of hope, needs stories of gratitude, right? We have so much to be thankful for, even though we get fed these narratives that it's never enough. My take is always, you know what, we have plenty. We're in a world where there's so much plentiful things. That feeling of gratitude, we need reminders of that, which is one of the reasons what inspires us to make movies and stories like I Can Only Imagine too. And Bart being so, it's right there, Bart being so gracious with his story to be able to kind of expose himself yet again, not just the first time, but now, if you like the first one where he was the son to Dennis Quaid, his dad, he's now the dad. And being able to see that juxtaposition between those two narratives, I think, is something really special. It's a great button for this journey and this story. My take is movies, the movies that we make, like when I'm looking for stories to create and translate into a movie screen, it's all about the worship experience. I mean, what made I Can Only Imagine work was that it was a worship experience for the audience. We didn't know that when we made it. We were like, okay, let's kind of put it out there, and then the climax will be the song. But then what we saw is people in the theater, and they're making it this worship experience. And so it's like, okay, maybe we're onto something where if we make the heart of the story about the worship experience for this audience, that they'll grab onto that. Maybe it's a callback to seeing the first film and having that worship experience, and people want to revisit that, what made the song move for them so much in their soul. So I'm so happy with that framing, because that hit millions of people the first go around, and you always want to have those callbacks that work like that.
I mean, I liked the first film. I got the script, I read the script, and there's, Brett McCorkle and the work that Andy Erwin did on this was just beautiful words on a page. And I had this character that jumped off the page, Timmons, that they were inviting me to come be a part of. And I'd seen the first film, and I started listening to Tim's music and just having conversations with Andy and Brent, the directors. And I was like, this is a group of people playing in the real world space of people who are all good. And a message of goodness and a message of faith and struggle through hard times, but you're going to make it through the other end. And it just felt like something that was right in the moment of some hard times for me, some beautiful things for me. But it just, I was kind of running toward the film and being a part of it rather than anything else. Didn't need any convincing. It was just like, no, this is a beautiful script and a beautiful role, and I just want to be a part of it. What Tim's faith does for him is give him the strength to move through those hard times, the grief. And within it also, he holds gratitude, and that gratitude is just, it's almost like unhuman to be able to feel that level of love and give love to people. I hope people can take from Tim's story, that whatever you're going through, you can move through it. You have the strength to move through it. And by grace, you can move through it. So giving. Like, that was the one thing that, everything he's experiencing. I mean, more than a 20-year, bout of cancer, terminal cancer that still is eating away at him. He's still right there with you. He's positive. He's graceful. He's one of the most loving human beings I've ever come across. We kind of look at everything out in the world, the climate of the world, what happens, across the globe, and divisions that are there and apparent very clearly on the front page of our newspapers. I think people need to see goodness, and they need it reflected from a story that they can relate to, and something that is actually going to speak to whatever tough time they're going through and get them in the mood to find those connections where there aren't, work through that, put a little more goodness into the world versus a little salt and see what happens. I mean, it was all kind of, said in the big speech where Tim on camera was talking about Horatio Spafford and the story and losing his daughters in a fire and all this. And I was fresh off the heels of my wife and I losing our home in the fires in California. So, a lot of that stuff really kind of was coming from my core. But then the whole overall of the film and how Tim lives and what he gives, that grace and goodness and everything, it's hard not to let it even personally stay with me over time. Even a year and change after making the film and knowing him and experiencing all of that. I mean, look, I think this film is built for everybody. That's something interesting too. A faith-based film or a film that discusses faith and God and Jesus and any of that stuff. Like, I think you can find the messaging and the goodness and the gratitude no matter what path in life you're walking, which is inspiring, But I think also, too, if this is right in line with your faith and your beliefs, and I think you may hold it even a little tighter, like the messaging and the people behind the filmmaking. But truly, I think anybody can walk into this film and understand the message of love. And, I don't know why you couldn't get behind that.
I can't believe we're finally here. I was just saying to someone else, they're like, does this feel real? And I was like, man, the whole time they were pitching the movie, they were going, hey, I think we're going to try and do a second one. I just kept saying, it's not real. That's not going to happen. Who does that? And it wasn't until they sent the script to my house that I kind of hit the realization of, oh my gosh, we're actually taking a stab at it. And just every step of the way, Lionsgate and Andy, Erwin, and Brickell proved themselves time and time again that they know what they're doing. And I really didn't have any notes. I just kind of sat back and was a fly on the wall. I was just mesmerized by how well they portrayed our stories. So it's crazy. I can't believe we're all here today. I've been fascinated at how people have responded. We've been in press and whatnot, and I think the biggest thing is, yes, it's our story, but it's more so that they're using our story as a vessel to open up these bigger conversations. There's big topics of chronic illness. I'm type 1 diabetic, cancer, family problems, and I think it's been really incredible to watch people see it and hear their reactions going, man, I'm going through the same thing. And not a whole lot of movies portray these almost like very specific things. I mean, we were just talking the other day that more specifically to me, like type 1 diabetics haven't been really accurately represented in film or TV. If there is, it hasn't been in a while. And so what an honor to be portraying that and opening that conversation to a larger audience. So it's been outstanding.
Well, the first one is brilliant. First of all, I mean, it is exactly what it is. It's phenomenon, and it's phenomenal. The second one I feel like really resonated with me because of the story of Sam and his dad and Bart, and that I feel like I've really felt that in my life. And so to come here and to say I'm able to tell that story in such a broad picture in a way that is so specific to these people is really important to me. And I feel like a lot of people need to hear that message. Oh, well, I mean, if you look at what's happening in the world, I feel like to band together under something like faith is so important. And another thing that I think this film really touches on that a lot of people miss until they see the movie is the vulnerability that we share. A lot of the characters in this find a vulnerability that is beautiful. And if you're able to be open with your shortcomings and be there and present with the other people, you can see that life can be messy and that's okay. And people need to know that. I hadn't really been able to dive into the song until this movie. And I think this movie really the song settled with me in a way for my career. Finding that balance of, I know where I am and I know where I want to be, and right now, it is well. I'm where I'm going to be, and I'm where I need to be to get to exactly where I'm destined to be. And I think that's the beauty of the song. And I didn't know it until this moment. And there's a beautiful shot in the film where that song is played with me, and I saw it in the film for the first time, and it wrecked me. And I'm in it. I was like, why am I crying at myself right now? The theaters are exactly what made this whole industry what it is today. And so the fact that we're able to sit together in a community and share a message that is important like this is so important. There's an element of that community building that you have in a theater that you don't get on your couch. As comfortable as it is, as I'm sure it's very comfortable, it is so powerful to experience a movie like this and that vulnerability that I talked about with other people.
Read the script and I just felt just so engaged in it and so moved by it. Just like this silent sort of, I don't know, silent but really strong feeling. And I've just not had that feeling about a script in a long time. And usually I'll kind of, I don't know, a bit of ADHD will kick in. I'll go and make a cup of tea or whatever partway through, but I didn't. I just sat with it and I just felt really moved. And then I watched the first film and I just thought that the direction was amazing. Cinematography was amazing. I loved the way it was shot. I thought John Michael, everyone was so natural in it in terms of their acting style, and I just thought I really want to tell this story and be a part of it. Well, one thing that Shannon said to me at one point, she kind of said, why would anybody want to tell my story? I'm just a stay-at-home mom. And I just thought, you are one of the most impressive women I have ever read on a page, never mind in real life. You're actually a real human, and you've been through this stuff. And she handles stuff with such grace, and you know, no one else in the family could do what they do if it weren't for her. And I just think those silent people at home, like, you are amazing. You are the rocks, and like, just don't underestimate that. And if anyone underestimates it for you, then tell them to watch this film. There's so many incredible movies out there, but the world is obviously going through a tricky time, as we always are, but you know, especially so. And I just think we need things like this to kind of remind us what humanity is, remind us that, you know, music can be grounding and the people around you really are what matters, and just don't take your people for granted. I think one thing I think is so beautiful about this movie and about MercyMe's songs is that I wasn't familiar with MercyMe before, but I think the way that they blend kind of popular culture and country with that faith element is really beautifully done. And so I guess just, you know, whether you want to take a hymn as a hymn or whether you want to read it as a poem, there's just something beautiful in there for everyone. And I think to have that as the through line of a film is really cool. Go see it in person. Yeah, I mean, I feel like sort of big cinematic movies, IMAX and whatever, are a great excuse to go to the cinema. But this one is just when you, for example, I watched it by myself on a plane and I don't recommend. I was crying, and it also is just one of those films that makes you want to reach for people around you, and I just feeling that there's no replacement to feeling that sort of accumulative energy and love in a movie theater. It's just great.
My daughter gets to see it for the first time tonight, which is really special. She actually goes to Belmont University right here where we are. So for her to see it for the first time with a bunch of our family and friends is really special. I don't take myself that serious. Like, I'm just not that awesome in life. And so I take Jesus really serious. I just don't take myself that serious. So I think the thing I'm most excited about, I write this X on my wrist every morning, and that's part of the movie. The whole point of the movie is this X. And I woke up again today. I was given 5 years to live 25 years ago, incurable cancer, stage 4, and there are still tumors on my liver today. So I woke up again today. So really the invitation for people to like find their own X. Like, how do we wake up well and just say, okay, I woke up again, thank you. Yes. So there's a piece of that, and so I'm so honored to be part of this. I think it's really helpful for us to like hold grief well and gratitude well, and put an and there, like life's hard, and what if God's at work in all these things? Like what if we woke up again and we find gratitude and life's hard? So I think that's really important. Yeah, I think life is meant to be done with people, and I think if you really look at the context of the whole Bible, which I'm a big fan of Jesus and the Bible, but the whole context is actually a group of people. It's not an individual sport. So I think watching something like this, and I think there are going to be people in that room that are like, life is really hard. It's hard for me to sing It Is Well With My Soul. So what I love is somebody next to them might be sitting there going, I can sing this for you. I can hold this. So for us to hold each other up like that, I think is like the point of the Bible and the point of the heart of God.
Had to draw me to this sequel. As soon as they told me they were doing another one and they wanted me to be a part of it, I was absolutely, because I enjoy working with these guys. And I told Andy and Brent, this is the third film that I've done with them. You know, everybody needs a good feel-good movie, you know? A movie that you can sit down with your family and watch it and not be worried about something that may be, you know, make some people feel uncomfortable. It's just a good movie, and it's a good story. You know, Bart just keeps on writing incredible songs, and, you know, every one of them is just about worthy of its own movie, but he's a great artist, and I've enjoyed hanging out with him and getting to know him, and he's a great guy. I'm just proud to still be around, you know, happy that there's some people that still want to come see me do my thing, and so we're going to tour hard this year, and I don't know, we'll see, that may be it.